Good morning, YouTube. This is Mike, the Okie Entrepreneur. Tuesday morning. Hope everybody had a good weekend. And some quick thoughts. We were looking at some properties over the weekend, and I looked at a couple yesterday. And something that's I've seen that some of the CPI and something I read called the Consumer's Product Consumption Index. And it's really interesting research if you want to be a huge economics nerd and get in to see what is in each of those, and the percentage of the index is attributed to core, fuel, food, and how, in my mind, it's very deceptive. So, and what you see in the evening news is just a headline, and it's rough data. And if you're into statistics, you know that's very dangerous, but most people don't want to dig and look at that stuff. But anyway, I was seeing where the gap, let's just paraphrase, the gap's getting closer. So that's kind of a good thing for inflation later on due to the raising the interest rates. Speaking of interest rates, I did see where the 30-year fix came down a little bit. And I read another article about the US loves their fixed rates, but other countries, the majority of it is adjustable rates, and they are getting killed on their cash flow. I don't know if it's just the difference in the cultures or the financing or what, but when I'm looking at these prices, I know realtor.com, I don't know if, I think Zillow does, it'll give you a graph of the 3 or 4 different metrics that evaluate the properties, and you can go back, and I always go back to 2020, right at the beginning of COVID, early 2020, roughly 2 years from whatever date I'm looking, and see where that price is. Because that price plus maybe 3% is actually what the value of that property really is. For the last 2 years, property prices have been artificially inflated, and just about everything else, the demands went down. Right? I've seen where a huge furniture company closed its doors and laid everybody off. Microsoft, Amazon, hiring freezes and layoffs. So unemployment's still pretty low. I think some of these other industries that are picking up the slack for supply to the country for manufacturing is doing better. But the people who overhired during the pandemic are let go. So I made a quick little simple graph, and this in my mind is how I see it. And if you disagree, agree, or whatever, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your thoughts. But this is how I see it in my mind. As the interest rates go up, prices naturally should be going down. There's some good research data on Zillow about how long properties are staying on the market, but what's the primary driver for price? Well, if I was selling my personal house, I'd be like, well, it's easy to do comps. You don't need an agent to do that. You can just get on Realtor and Zillow and look at comparable properties where you live and say, hey, I think my house was worth this. You have a personal interest in that property. As a business, it's a little bit different because you can't take stuff personally. But personally, it's like, hey, my house is worth more than Tom's down the street, and he just sold his for X amount of dollars. I'm going to do X plus 4%. And then you get an agent that says, oh yeah, you can sell it for that. And then it sets on the market. So if you're trying to buy a place and it's a contingency offer on you selling your place, and your place isn't selling because it's just a little too high, and now you're at a price point that there's more supply on the market, so people have more options. Do your research, look at the comparables, make better decisions. You don't need an agent to tell you. You need agent's help to list it and get it out there in the market. Okay, next, another crypto bankruptcy. BlockFi filed bankruptcy. It has it's 100,000 creditors. It has a huge, multi-$100 million loan to FTX, which is gone, evaporated. As an investor in real estate and a very, very small business owner, I did it to crypto. I just thought, there's something to this. It's got to be. There's just too many young people, and and I got back out of it at a good time. But I think digital currencies there's two groups of people. The Warren Buffetts. What are you guys doing? What is that? I don't understand it. Stay away from it. And the 30 and under, they're like, listen, we like this digital currency. We don't like being controlled by a central bank. It's a finite number, which if you remember on the gold standard, basically the same thing. Instead of digital, it was bars of gold sitting in a bank somewhere for the central bank. But if 2 years ago, you would have looked, or maybe even a year ago, at the height of, let's say the price of all cryptos, there was hundreds of these, hundreds. And it's still really Bitcoin and Ethereum is probably the strongest ones. And people were coming up with these different ideas and trying to get investors. And they did. And they made a lot of money, a lot of quick money that is gone now. The market was flooded with crypto options, I would say. There's a place for it, but it was a new idea. The market got flooded and people are getting burned right now. So here in Oklahoma, and I'm going to make an example of how I see it, is Oklahoma started changing some medical marijuana laws and making it a little more easier to sell. So overnight, dispensaries popped up everywhere. People got a medical license. They either started a grow farm or they found an old building downtown, bought it, refurbished it, dispensary everywhere. And now when you look, I'm seeing a lot of these buildings for rent, for sale. I see a lot of these houses out in the country for sale that have a grow facility with them. Why is that? Well, I think people were entrepreneurs and they thought, listen, this is the start of something. I want to get in early and get in and get my leg in the door. I got a license. I'm doing it all legally. And hopefully the federal legislation will change a lot of the federal laws and decriminalize marijuana. Didn't happen. They still can't use banking. That's a tremendous asset for a small business owner, as you guys know. They got hamstrung. So whoever can, just kind of like crypto. So now whoever's left in the market are the people who can survive. Oklahoma, I'll give it the state government realized that illegal grow operations were rampant. So when you're illegal, you set up an operation and you start selling your product. It's not legal. So you're basically, you think of cost of goods sold, you're producing something much less than the people who are doing it legally with quality control. And a lot of these guys, they're just total weed nerds, man. pH of the soil, the right water, the amount of sunlight and all this. And they're just getting hammered out of business because these illegal people just like, I'm going to sell it and I'm going to just make my money and get out. Oklahoma said, well, we're not giving out no more, 2 years, I believe, a moratorium on license. That's a start. And they really need to start shutting down all these illegal operations because it's a great idea. And they got started. I'll give it to Oklahoma. We're pretty green lighted that, but the federal government needs to do its part. And it's just, it's been long enough. So anyway, like I said, if you enjoy the video, give it a like. If you enjoy this channel, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. If you have anything, agree with what you're seeing, and where you live, just let me know in the comments down below. Until then, go find your next deal.